Understanding how intuition shapes human reasoning will transform your dialogues about abortion. In Jonathan Haidt's book, The Righteous Mind, Why Good People Are Divided by Politics and Religion, he describes our human reasoning as our own personal in-house press secretary. I want you to imagine a White House press briefing. You're probably picturing reporters barraging the press secretary with leading questions, reciting statistics that directly challenge the effectiveness of a new policy, and presenting contradictory quotes that the press secretary had said literally the day before. It's a frustrating scene because no matter how bad or illogical the policy at hand is, it is always a press secretary's job to figure out a way to defend, justify, and even praise it. This is just the nature of being a press secretary under any administration. You will never, ever hear a press secretary say, "Thank you so much for bringing these problems to my attention. You've made some really great points today, and maybe we should be rethinking this policy." Yeah, that's not going to happen. And this is precisely how the very flawed reasoning in our brain works, according to Haidt. One point in particular from his book stuck with me. You will be far more persuasive if the other person's intuition is on your side. You see, Haidt argues that when making moral decisions, quote, intuitions come first, strategic reasoning second, end quote. In other words, our brain makes instant moral evaluations of situations based largely on our quick intuitive judgments, aka our gut feelings. Afterwards, our brain engages in reasoning in an attempt to justify the intuitive judgment that we've already made. This isn't to say that strategic reasoning can't overcome our initial intuition and cause us to change our mind. But our reasoning's automatic response is to justify our intuition, right or wrong. It's like having a press secretary full-time in your own head. As soon as I realized this, I started noticing my own press secretary at work all the time. I don't know about you, but as soon as I see cheesecake, my intuition wants it, and wants it badly. And so my inner press secretary starts working really hard to justify why it's totally okay for me to have those extra calories. Well, you didn't have dessert today, and you only had 2 pieces of pizza at lunch, so you definitely have leftover calories. Oh, and you worked out this morning! Go, Emily! And it's such a small piece. I mean, it can't be that unhealthy. You could be having 2 pieces, but this is just 1. Also, how unhealthy can cheesecake possibly be? I mean, cheese is in the name. Cheese is dairy, and dairy is a very important food group. Okay, clearly I have a pretty big weakness for cheesecake. But our intuition and inner press secretary don't just play a role in how much dessert we eat. They play a huge role in how we see other people and their viewpoints, and how other people see us. When a dialogue with another person feels hostile or unwelcoming, your intuition immediately decides that you don't like the other person, and you don't want to be like the other person. And so your reason works incredibly hard to find a way to rebut their arguments. Yes, your reasoning can overcome this intuition, but the other person will have to present extremely strong evidence in order to change your mind. And it will certainly take you far longer to think through this evidence than the split second it took for you to form your initial judgment. Not to mention the fact that your inner press secretary is far too busy in rebutting mode to actually hear the arguments and think through the evidence. But if your intuition likes the person you're talking to, your reason works hard to empathize with what the other person is saying. Your press secretary's automatic response is to try to understand their arguments and find a way to agree with them. So, if you want to be as persuasive as possible, you need to appeal to the other person's intuition. You need to recruit their inner press secretary to work for you instead of against you. So, how can we get a pro-choice person's intuition on our side? First, take care to have welcoming body language and a smile on your face. Your body language is the very first thing that a pro-choice person is going to see. If you're in an outreach situation, a student is almost always approaching the table from across the lawn or down the hallway. So what they see in your body and in your face has already swayed their intuition long before you've had a chance to say a word. Whenever I am at the outreach table, but not currently in a conversation, I take great care to appear as natural and friendly as possible. I often sit on the edge of the table itself, and I wave or say hello to as many students passing by as possible. I am always smiling, and I avoid looking at my phone or having a side conversation with another pro-life advocate if at all possible. I want the people walking by to see me as friendly and non-threatening, as someone they could have a pleasant conversation with and want to listen to. Second, work to build as much common ground as possible. If you've followed ERI's work, you probably know that we are extremely passionate about helping pro-life advocates express the genuine common ground they have with pro-choice people. We want pro-choice people to know that we also care about people in poverty, survivors of rape, children in foster care, and a whole wealth of social and political issues. When a pro-choice person hears how much we care about an issue they are also passionate about, even if we may not share the same ideas about how to solve that issue, the pro-choice person realizes that our moral compass isn't broken. Then they're willing to take our views on abortion more seriously. There's also something else I have in common with the pro-choice students on my campus: shared experiences. If I want to appeal to the pro-choice person's intuition, I want them to see me as being like them. I want them to see me as the kind of person they could sit next to in class, say hello to in the cafeteria, and even be friends with. They need to realize that I'm a college student just like them. And I can help them do that by mentioning small things in my conversation that are specific to my campus or unique to being a student. I might ask them how their classes are going today and spend 30 seconds commiserating over upcoming midterm exams. Or they might mention that they're on their way to lunch, and I'll excitedly tell them that the cafeteria is serving tater tot hot dish, which is a St. Olaf favorite. By pointing out our common ground and common experiences, I am reminding the pro-choice person that we're not all that different from each other. If they can see themselves in me in some small way, their inner press secretary is much more open to engaging with my position. Third, use a splash of humor. We all appreciate someone who can make a good joke and not take themselves too seriously. Now, I am not suggesting that you ignore the topic of abortion and start a stand-up comedy routine at your outreach table. But a small dose of humor sprinkled in your conversation can have a dramatic effect on how the other person's intuition views you. In my experience, self-deprecating humor, or humor about a shared experience, is a great way to build some camaraderie in the conversation. If I can make a lighthearted joke about our campus motto or throw in a comment about how short I am sure to get a smile. Check the links in the description for a few podcast episodes where we dive deeper into how to use humor in dialogues. Finally, consider how your reputation will affect the pro-choice person's intuitions. Whether you're doing outreach on a college campus or speaking with friends and family about abortion, keep in mind that it isn't just how you act right now that matters. Chances are, students on your campus have been in class with you or one of your club members. They've seen you doing outreach before, or they've heard about you from one of their friends. They probably already have an intuition about who you are from your previous reputation or the reputation of your club. And if you're talking with friends or family, you can be 100% sure that they already have a well-formed opinion about you. How you treat your friends, family, colleagues, classmates, professors, and administration when you're not talking about abortion is just as important as how you treat them when you are. How they've viewed you in the past greatly impacts whose side their inner press secretary will be on when you start talking about abortion. So the moral of the story? Just be nice. You will be far more persuasive in any dialogue if you appeal to the other person's intuition. If a dialogue feels friendly and you seem welcoming, the other person will like you, and their inner press secretary will automatically work harder to find truth in what you're saying. This is not to say that it's impossible for someone to be persuaded by fantastic arguments coming from a not-so-nice person. But the psychology of persuasion and how I believe I am called to treat people as a Christian are very much in agreement. Being nice to someone who disagrees with you is the right thing to do, and it's also more persuasive. You recruit their inner press secretary to work for you rather than against you. And even better, if you are the first kind, rational, and intelligent pro-life person they've ever encountered, you can forever change their intuition about pro-lifers. You're not only making your own argument more persuasive, but you're making the next pro-lifer they talk to more persuasive too. For more practical dialogue tips like this, check out the Equipped for Life course. This is the course that my college club and I used in order to transform our dialogues about abortion. The practical dialogue tips that we learned in the Equipped for Life course helped us to be more persuasive when we were making effective pro-life arguments that we also learned in the course. You can use the promo code YouTube to get 10% off your subscription. Check it out at equippedcourse.com.